Today's story comes from the offmychest subreddit and was posted by Sprained Ankle 2011 and was titled, "I regret cutting off my dad after he cheated on my mom." My parents divorced when I was 14. I'm 25 now because my dad cheated on her with someone who worked for him. My parents used to argue about him not giving my mom enough time, not put her first, not respecting her as an equal. In some ways, it was like a sickeningly logical culmination of their marriage. But for me, until that point, he was my hero. I was a total daddy's girl, which is hilarious to think about now, considering the last 11 years. He would take me everywhere: grocery runs, mechanic, NBA, movie night, pizza night, homework and test, and exam help. It destroyed me when I found out. They split custody 50-50, and I was a massive B to him and later his new wife, the woman he cheated with. Lots of locked doors, calling out his wife, calling him out. I've maybe spoken like 20 sentences in totality to her 2 sons, my stepbrothers. When they had their son, I made sure to never let his wife think I was going to be like a loving older sister. With my dad, though, he did kind of wear me down, and with him, I did develop a kind of big sister bond with my half-brother. I used to argue with my mom about not wanting to go, but she insisted I maintain decency with my dad at least. When it was time for college, I was going to take student loans because I didn't want to owe him. My mom said she'd save money, and I believed her. It was during my 3rd year when he had offered to buy me a car, and I told my mom hell no, while she tried to convince me to agree, that she told me he'd been majorly contributing to my tuition and sending her the money for it. I don't think I've ever had a worse argument with her. It fucked with my mind knowing he'd been doing it silently. He knew I wouldn't know. They had thought that while I was planning on taking student loans rather than his help initially, inertia would do its thing if I found out later. And they were right. I did end up just taking it for the remainder of my UG without talking to him. On Tuesday, I went to the emergency because I had slipped while putting bird feed in my apartment. My mom is away at my aunt's, so I had just called my best friend to come to the emergency. Soon after, my dad came too. My mom had told him. I wanted to just go back, but he insisted. We spent like 15 minutes arguing, but I'm at his place now while my sprain recovers or until my mom comes back. My stepbrothers no longer live here, but my half-brother, who's 9 now, does. I haven't spoken to my dad's wife yet. He and my half-brother are the only ones I talk to, who come up to my room to bring stuff while I work from home. We've talked after a long time about work, my plans for a master's, and just random stuff. I've just been thinking now that he was my dad. Instead, my stepbrothers got more of him the past decade than I did. I can't help but regret letting that happen. I also can't help but just think about the life we were robbed of because he cheated. Because my stepmother chose to wreck our home. And her sons got to be the family we were. I know my mom wants me to go to hers when she comes back on Saturday. And like that makes sense, but part of me wants to stay here. The fact that his wife probably is hoping I leave soon makes me want to stay too, if that makes sense. Like, F off, it's my dad. He pays for this house and its bills. I'm his daughter. I can stay since he wants. I don't even know if I need advice. I just wanted to get this off my chest. Relevant comments. Comment 1 says, "Therapy helped me separate the good dad from the bad husband. You can miss who he was without excusing what he did." Comment 2 says, "Well, he visited you. Means the door for a relationship is still open. Make the best use of your time while you have it." Comment 3 says, "It's a sad story all around. I once heard a woman on a podcast who had an affair and her husband divorced her. Even though she cut off her affair partner, she still couldn't rebuild a healthy relationship with her teenage son, who refused to speak to her or visit her despite his dad's efforts to encourage it. The therapist's advice to her was simple: stay consistent. Keep showing up for your son. Keep writing him letters, even he refuses to read them. And be there for him no matter how long it takes for him to come around. She, like your dad, destroyed that relationship, but that doesn't mean she can't build a new one over time. You miss your father, and you want him to be present in your life. That's a good place to start. Take the same approach. Be open to rebuilding a new relationship, one step at a time." Comment 4 says, "Your parents' relationship sounds like it was falling apart before your dad cheated. I'm not excusing the cheating. He did everything in his power to maintain the relationship with you. Even if he never cheated, your parents may have gotten divorced, so blaming your stepmother isn't helpful. Get a therapist to help you work through your emotions. Your stepmother may have an issue with you because how you treat her, her sons, and your father not necessarily just wanting you gone for no reason. Would you like to be around someone who constantly disrespected and fought with those you love? Hope replied. She knew he was married, knew he had a daughter he loved, and who loved him. What are you talking about? Why shouldn't I blame her? I blame my dad too, of course, but why on earth should she not be ashamed of what she did to our family? And since Tuesday, I haven't said anything to her. I've only spoken with my dad, half-brother, the cleaner, and the cook. I haven't said anything to her. I never treated her sons poorly. I just had no interest in talking to them. I never said anything to them about their mom. I don't need her to want me around. My dad wants me around. I keep away from her. Comment 5 says, I was surprised by how your story ended, and it seems clear that you are still deeply hurt by his infidelity. I strongly encourage you to talk this through, both with him directly and, if possible, with a therapist. Please try to remember that your half-brothers are innocent in all of this. You also do not have the full picture of your stepmother's perspective or the state of their marriage when they first met. Carrying this weight is hurting you more than anyone else. You have already lost so much time with your father, and it would be a shame to lose even more. I worry that if things continue this way, the dynamic will only become more strained. What happened was undeniably wrong, but for your own sake, it is time to find a way to process it. Living with this level of anger is incredibly draining. I really hope you can find some peace soon. Hope replied, I only have one half-brother, who's currently 9. I have never blamed him, never been unkind to him. I was fond of him when he was a baby, and I'm fond of him now the last 2 days too. I was also never cruel to my stepbrothers. I hardly ever spoke to them. She knew he was married, knew he had a daughter, knew he loved his daughter, knew she'd be destroying the bond between a daughter and her father. That should have been her perspective. Opie, responding to a deleted comment. My relationship with my dad, whatever it will look like, is our own. My attitude with her has never stopped him in wanting to be a caring father to me, even when I repudiated him, and I trust that he won't let it in the future either. Opie, responding to a deleted comment. I don't think ill of my half-brother at all. I was fond of him when he was a baby, and being with him again after all these years, I still am. He's curious, funny, and I enjoy talking to him. Sorry, I absolutely do blame her. She was half the affair, knew he was married and a loving father. And I still do blame him too, but I know he does love and care about me, and I'm spending time with him right now. I regret the time wasted. Update. Thanks for letting me get my feelings off my chest in my post. I also appreciate everyone who DM'd me meaning well. I know you asked what I'm going to do when my mom returns and wanted me to make my choice for healthy reasons. I ignored a lot of those because I was conflicted within myself and about my reasons. I want to give an update. Whether my reasons and my feelings are healthy or not, it's how I'm going about it. I just wanted to clarify a few things first. I have never, even when I was rude to my dad and stepmom back then, ever shouted at or been cruel to my 2 stepbrothers. I hardly spoke to them. I used to ignore them, pretend they don't exist. They're like around 20 now, I think, and don't live in my dad's house. I have absolutely no ill will towards my 9-year-old half-brother. I felt protective and caring about him when he was a baby, and now too, I like his company. I played games on PlayStation with him because he asked. He's told me about school. He's also learned chess from my dad the way I did, and we've bonded a bit over playing chess too. My mom flew back yesterday. I had told her on the phone that I wanted to stay at my dad's while I recovered. She was disappointed, and I hate that. I hated making her sad. I asked her to please understand. All these years she's wanted me to maintain a relationship with my dad, and right now I actually feel like doing it. I told her if I go to hers, I'll be extra work for her even if she doesn't think that. And I want to help out. Here I'm not being a burden. Like we have house help here, I'm not causing dad to overexert himself because of me. She asked if I'd be comfortable with my dad's wife there. I said I didn't care. He wanted me to stay. I could care less what his wife thinks. My mom relented. She came to check up on me. My dad came in the room too. We were just talking about my injury, and he was making the case for why I should stay here. His wife decided to enter the room too, for some reason, and just stand there. I very calmly said that I just like my parents here right now. She said to please not tell her where to go in her house. I said my dad's house, who pays for every cent that runs this house. My dad tried to stop a fight and stepped out with her, and came back alone, and my mom left soon after. Last night, when my dad came up to bring my dinner, we talked about stuff. Then he said he was glad I chose to stay here. I told him I hated that mom was probably sad about it, but that I thought I'd like to spend time with him right now, that I hadn't in a long time. He thanked me. Later, he said that my comment rubbed his wife the wrong way, that if I was willing to clear the air with her, I'd probably feel more comfortable here. I told him I won't, that she shouldn't have been here when I was injured and just wanted my mom and dad in the room. I will never be okay with what he did, but I still want to spend time with him. Wanted to give my relationship with him and my half-brother a chance, but it will never be with her. I want him, my half-brother, to be happy, but I will never wish her well. That if he genuinely couldn't deal with that, I should call mom back and go with her. He just said, let's forget about it. And we talked about work and my applications. Again, I read a lot of comments last time saying I need to work this out in therapy about how to forgive him and her. Why do I need to? I can have a relationship with my dad without forgiving him. And I have absolutely no interest in any kind of relationship with her. I can despise her in peace forever. I'm glad I have this place to get stuff out, and I appreciate everyone who was so understanding last time. Thank you. Relevant comments. Comment 1 says, so, in a lot of ways, your father is doing what parents who are capable of providing do for their children. What you owe to yourself is maintaining a relationship with him, which should never be contingent on her, because that's what you seem to want. His inability to understand how even actions from long ago can have a direct impact on the way things are at present is something he needs to be accountable for. I also agree with many of the previous commenters that you should go to therapy. You should go to therapy to understand what a healthy relationship with your father looks like, so that you don't live with regret and you're also able to be honest with him about and set boundaries around yourself and your feelings. It's hard when adult actions have long-term implications. 50 by 50, basically immediately, with the person you were capable of understanding had a hand in this regulating your previously normal life, was not a healthy or good choice. Not to say that your father was not allowed to be happy, but with 50 by 50, he could have spent his time not with you with her and brought the relationship to you in a way that prioritized helping you healthfully acclimate to this new normal. Instead, he all but had an entirely new family, with you as a guest half the time. His choices landed you all there, and he needs to be accountable for that to you and understanding of your feelings and how it has impacted you. I'm sure that many of your behaviors were not agreeable, and that you likely behaved very badly. I'm not at all agreeing with that. However, I find adult actions and choices to be a lot more important in the situation than the children's reactions. Children should not be more responsible for their reactions to being placed in difficult situations than the adults who place them there. Get a therapist and work through some of these feelings. And when you feel ready, invite your father to listen. Hope replied, thank you. I can consider therapy as a way to work through and get help for how my relationship with my dad should move forward. But not as a way of blending into that family and singing Kumbaya with her, if that's how it would go, which is the way some commenters suggested last time. I'll consider the former. Thank you. Comment 2 says, please forgive yourself for how you acted as a teen. You were a hurt kid. I am happy you are trying to rebuild a relationship of sorts with your father. I believe that even as an adult, you do not have to develop a relationship with your stepmother if you do not want to. However, I would encourage you to do the work towards becoming ambivalent towards her, more so than angry. Remember, she did not break your parents up alone, and if you can forgive yourself, father, you can at least loosely tolerate her. Again, you don't have to befriend her, but you can at least be tolerant for you and your growth, not for her. Hope replied, thank you. I just want to say I have been ambivalent towards her in the way I've carried myself here. Up till the point she was inserting herself in a conversation between me and my parents, I seriously hadn't spoken a single word to her since I've been here. I was tolerant, didn't ask my dad to choose, didn't and never will say a bad word about her to my half-brother. Comment 3 says, I saw but did not read your last post. I have been the betrayed spouse in my former relationship with older children involved, so I've had to work through some of these same issues, just from a different perspective. I wanted to address the question you asked, why do I need to forgive? First off, I want to say people do rush into forgiveness too quickly many times, and as children, we are many times forced into forgiveness. So understand the desire to maintain control over your own feelings. The problem is that forgiveness is not for your father or for his new wife. You forgive them for yourself and your own benefit. It has famously been said, unforgiveness, resentment, is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Holding on to that hurt wounds you more than anyone else. Now, that isn't to say that you need to reconnect with everyone, or even anyone if you so choose. Reconciliation and forgiveness are two entirely separate issues, and you should definitely weigh them as such. But forgiveness is for you, not for anyone else, so that is likely why so many people have encouraged you to get into therapy and to forgive them. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free from all that pain in your past. Sure, it will have always happened, but this way it can heal. Something to consider. Comment 4 says, your feelings are valid, but it's not a great first step for you to be staying in their house, but not wanting anything to do with his wife, the mother of your half-sibling. You're going to have to be civil. If there's negative energy, it's not going to work. Imagine how you'd feel if someone was treating your mom like she doesn't exist. Your sibling might grow to resent you, and you're making life harder for your dad. So you can either stay with your mom and spend time with your dad outside of his house and work on building that relationship, or you can stay with him and be civil with the entire family. Otherwise, it's not going to go down well for you in the long run. Comment 5 says, reiterating that therapy should be a go-to, and also that your hurt and behavior as a child were completely normal and not your fault, especially as you clarified that you were not cruel or abusive to your step-siblings. I'm glad that your mother, despite her pain, supported you maintaining a relationship with your father. I'm also glad that you were able to build a bond with your half-brother. And I'm happy for you that you feel ready to rebuild with your father again. I understand that you don't respect your stepmother, and I'm not going to pretend that you have to feel a certain way. But you're in her house, and you do have to act a certain way. I agree with you that she should have stepped out to let you talk with your parents while you were injured, but your words to her were atrociously disrespectful. I know you know that, and I know you admit to deliberately enjoying that aspect of your interaction. That is normal, but it is also immature and unhelpful for everyone, yourself included. Frankly, you are young and privileged to have had your parents able to pay off your college education. That's a good thing. Everyone deserves to have that. But you telling his current wife that the house isn't hers because he pays all the bills when he's also put you through college and you haven't had to manage yourself extensively without his support is doubly disrespectful. You don't know their finances, and you're not entitled to. Yes, you're his daughter, but you're also an adult. She is his wife and mother of his minor child. Like it or not, she has rights to the home that you do not. That is her house you are in, as much as it is your father's. Other commenters have noted that your continued insistence on disrespecting her may end up eroding your relationships with your father and half-brother. If you continue down this path, you may eventually force your father to have to make a choice, and you might not like the outcome. You do not have to like, forgive, or want a closer relationship with your stepmother. You do need to behave civilly and cordially towards her at the very least, and act respectfully towards her in her own home. Stop antagonizing her and putting your father in the middle. Like it or not, you are no longer the child in this scenario, and you are responsible for behaving accountably and responsibly as an adult. The second story is from Relationships subreddit. It was posted by ThrowMeWay1444 and was titled, Just Found Out Something Terrible About Me, 19 female, and my mom. No idea what I'm going to do. I've never done this before, so bear with me. I've been locked in my room for 2 hours now since everything happened. My mom and me have a great relationship. I don't mean to brag, but she's been the best mom I could ever have wished for. Better than all my friends' moms, too. My dad and younger brothers are great, too. My home life has always been, well, normal. Today I heard something I'm not sure I could take in. I want to visit my grandparents. They live about 5 minutes from us and always had an open door policy. They're getting a bit deaf, so it was normal to just walk in and shout when you got near the living room door. My granddad was talking quite loudly to my grandmother about me, about how traumatic everything was before and after I was born. More fool me, but I listened. Basically, my dad is not my dad. My mother was raped, and I'm the result. I'm crying even as I write this. I didn't wait around and took off home. I'm upstairs in my room right now. My mom knows something's up and has been at door 4 times now to ask me what's wrong. I don't know what to do. I can't stop shivering and crying. I want to ask her, but I don't either. I really, really wish this is a joke. Help me. What can I say to her? How can I bring this up? She knows something is wrong. Quick update. Sorry for being quiet. I'm struggling to deal with this, to be honest, but my dad is here now. He popped up with a couple of bars of chocolate and painkillers. I get bad period pain, so mom was worried, that's why I was hiding. I've asked him if we can go somewhere away from the house to talk. Just leaving now. Thanks, everyone. I'll let you know how it goes. Update 1. Hey, everyone. Thanks for all the comments and stuff. You've really helped, even just to help me pull my thoughts together. This is going to be my last post as I have a lot to deal with, but at least I've got my parents to help me. My dad took me out to a small park not far from our home to talk. I burst out crying when I tried to tell him what I heard. He just about heard me say that I knew about the rape and stuff before I collapsed into a sobbing mess. He just held me and told me it was all right. When I had pulled myself together, he asked me how much I knew, so I told him. Dad took us back home and sent me into the dining room while he got mom. He told her what this was all about before she arrived in, so she was well prepared for the crying fit I had the minute I saw her. I was way more upset about it all than she was. She just wanted to make sure I was all right. I know some posters were right in that it didn't happen to me, so I shouldn't be too upset, but it happened to my mom. I can't stop crying when I think of that. We talked, and there's so much more to my family's history than I ever thought. My mom was married before she met my dad. She was too young, like 18, and my grandparents didn't approve. This man, gonna refer to him as B, was a bit older and soon afterwards moved them to a fairly well-known city that I won't name. B became incredibly controlling and abusive to her, which explains a lot, really. She's really defensive of me with boyfriends. The marriage started falling apart after about a year, and she planned on leaving him by going home. When she told him that it was over, B beat her black and blue and raped her in their flat. I admit I got really choked up at that part, but my mom was like a rock. I've never seen her so calm and reassuring, which makes me feel like shit, because I should have been helping her. She told me that afterwards she was petrified of him and ended up staying in their small flat like a prisoner, only going out when he told her to. She wouldn't tell me more about what happened, but I guess he didn't stop taking what he wanted. I'm not sure the exact timeline, as it's still all new for me, but it was definitely a couple of months later he was taking her to the store for bits and pieces when they got into a car crash. He was killed instantly, but my mom got out with a couple of broken bones. That's when they told her she was pregnant. My mom told me she genuinely didn't know. She went to therapy for a few years after, and the guy treating her told her that sometimes the mind refuses to recognize signs like pregnancy to protect itself. Sort of like those teenagers who have babies but don't recognize it until they are in labor. My grandparents offered to take me if she wanted, but my mom told me that the minute they told her she knew, she was going to keep me. Have to admit, I started bawling at that point too. She had a few pictures and things of the guy who was my father in a box upstairs and offered to show them to me, but I'm not ready for that. I asked if there was any relatives from his side hiding out there, but my mom told me that he never knew his parents or even if he had siblings. Part of why my grandparents didn't like him was that he was a troubled kid from foster care and never got any further from that. My parents met when I was barely 1 and married when I was 2. I never ever doubted that my dad was my dad, ever. I mean, I knew they married after I was born, but it never struck me that I might not be directly related. My mom said my dad made the decision that as far as anyone was concerned, he was my father. She had left that part about the father empty on my original birth cert, so my dad had the birth re-registered, so it would have his name. He says I'm his daughter, so it felt right to make it official. In the end, I'm still all kinds of messed up, but my mom and dad are the best. They really, really are. Update 2. Hey, everyone. It's been a while since I last logged into this throwaway, and I just want all those who sent me PMs that I really, really appreciated it. I know I didn't get around to messaging everyone, but I did read them all, and I'm really grateful for all the support. My update isn't terribly exciting other than I'm okay. I still have odd days and stuff where it kind of all hits me at once, but they're becoming less and less, which is great. I actually started having panic attacks not long after everything came out. I try to not let on that something was wrong. I had no idea what was happening, to be honest, but my mom knows me like the back of her hand. She dragged me to our family doctor, and he straight away diagnosed it when I told him what was going on. My mom sort of blamed herself because she thought I was too young to be having them, but my dad, yep, he still is that to me. Told her that she can't take the problems of everyone else on herself. So instead, Mom has thrown herself into reading up everything about them and has changed a huge chunk of how we all eat and stuff. And I'm seeing a counselor, just once a week for the moment, but it helps. Shortly after everything happened, my parents sat me down and asked what I wanted to do in regards to my brothers. I told them that I didn't want them to know, at least not yet. I just don't want them to treat me differently. My dad understood, but Mom got a little upset that I thought they would do that. Dad just reminded her that they're still young, 8 and 10, and that sometimes it's better to wait. And some really, really good news. My mom's pregnant again, about 3 months at this stage. I was shocked at first and really worried. My mom's not young, in her late 40s, but so far it's all going smoothly. She's having to have loads of tests and scans to make sure everything's okay. My dad's thrilled, my brother's not so much. And I talked to my grandparents. My granddad was really, really upset that I found out. I've never seen him cry ever, and he was sobbing when we talked. They never wanted me to know. In fact, they had fights with my mom over it. She had wanted to tell me when I was a little younger, but held off because my grandparents were so upset over it. I know some people will say it was none of their business, but I can kind of see why they did it. And so, does my mom now. They just wanted me to be as carefree and happy for her as long as possible. I was still their granddaughter, but they knew that the minute I knew that I'd start doubting their love and my family's. So after all that, I'm okay. One step at a time, my dad says. Thanks to everyone for all their support. It really means a lot.